Have you ever wondered how a really ambitious, high-tech, sustainable project actually gets built? Especially somewhere like rural Uganda? It's this massive puzzle with a ton of moving parts. Well, today we're going to piece it all together by looking at three totally different documents that tell the whole story. So this is the big question we're tackling. And look, it seems simple enough, right? But the answer, wow. The answer is this incredible mix of Silicon Valley money, big picture national policy, and really specific on-the-ground partnerships. We're basically going to follow the journey from a pitch deck all the way to a real plot of land. Okay, so where do we start? Well, it all begins with a pitch. Our first piece of the puzzle is a confidential investment memo. It's from a tech startup that has a huge idea. And more importantly, they're asking for the cash to turn that idea into a reality. But, a great idea and a slick pitch deck, they don't get you very far on their own. You can't just show up and start digging. You have to follow the rules. And that brings us to our second document, this dense policy framework from the Ugandan government. Think of it as the official playbook for how to build green in the country. And finally, we get to the document that connects the dots. This is the legal agreement, the nuts and bolts that bring that global tech idea down to earth. This is where the grand vision gets turned into actual jobs for actual people. This is where the rubber meets the road. All right, let's start with the money. We're diving into a tech company called DeReticular. They've got this incredible vision for building off-grid infrastructure. But to do that, well, they need capital. They need to convince investors to buy into the dream. So how are they raising this money? They're using something called a convertible promissory note. Now, that sounds super complicated, right? But it's actually pretty straightforward. Think of it this way. Instead of buying a slice of the company today, you're giving them a loan. And then later on, that loan converts into an ownership stake, usually at a nice little discount as a reward for believing in them early. Okay, so let's break down the deal they're offering. They're trying to raise $1 million. Your money earns 12% interest, which is great. But the real prizes are that valuation cap and conversion discount. The cap basically protects you. It makes sure the company's price tag doesn't explode before you get your shares. And that discount? It's a bonus. You get your shares for 20% less than the next guys. It's a pretty sweet incentive for taking that early risk. So DeReticular has a solid plan to get the funding. But here's the thing. $1 million and a cool piece of tech, that's just the first step. To actually build in Uganda, their project has to fit into the country's huge vision for its own future. This isn't just about one park. It's about being a piece of a much larger national strategy. And at the core of this whole government plan is the Eco-Industrial Park, or EIP. I want you to forget what you think you know about industrial parks. Smokestacks, pollution. The whole point of an EIP is to create a closed-loop system. An ecosystem where one company's waste is literally another company's treasure. It's all about being radically efficient and having almost zero negative impact. In this map, this just shows you everything. The project in Kaabong isn't some random one-off idea. Look at this. It's one single node in this massive, countrywide web of planned parks. You can see right here, this is a huge coordinated national effort to transform the entire economy. And this, right here, is where the government's policy gets really, really interesting. I'd even say revolutionary. It completely challenges the old way of thinking. Instead of just asking, hey, will this project make money? These new guidelines force you to ask a much bigger question using something called the capitals approach. It's a whole new way of defining what value even means. Okay, so on the left, you see what looks like a crazy complicated UN-style diagram, right? That's all the dense academic theory. But look to the right. That's what it all boils down to in practice. All that complexity gets simplified into 4 key areas: natural, social, human, and produced capital. It's a framework for measuring the true impact of something, way beyond just the bottom line. So we have the startup with its financial pitch, and we have the government with its grand national vision. Now, let's look at the document that finally brings it all together, the partnership agreement. This is what defines exactly who does what, right there on the ground in Uganda. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. It's such a clean split of duties. DeReticular, the tech provider, they handle the hardware, the software, the digital modeling, all the high-tech stuff. Meanwhile, their local partner, Agra Energy Uganda, manages literally everything else on the ground: customs, site prep, security, staffing. They even split the data ownership. It's a true partnership. Now, a big part of how this project creates value is through carbon credits. And this is so important. The agreement is crystal clear that creating these credits is a joint effort. It takes Agra's local work and DeReticular's tech. So what happens with the revenue from selling them? It's split right down the middle, 50-50, clean and simple. So beyond all the legal documents and financial models, this project actually has a name. It has an identity, a soul really. They call it Project Umoja. And this line, taken directly from their project plan, it just gives you chills. This is how we build the heartbeat of Umoja. I mean, come on. Umoja is the Swahili word for unity. So you see, this isn't just about building an industrial park. It's about creating a new, vibrant center, a heartbeat for an entire community. It just adds such a powerful, human layer to all of this. Okay, so how do they actually pull this off? Here's the roadmap. The first 3 months are all about getting the foundation right, finishing the studies, securing the land, and raising that first $1 million we talked about. Then, for the rest of the first year, it's all about building a pilot site and testing the tech. And the big goal? Within 2 years, the full 7,000-acre campus is up, it's running, and it's making money. It's an incredibly ambitious but very clear plan. All right, let's just step back for a second. What have we really seen here? We've seen a startup's financial hustle, a government's sweeping policy vision, and a practical partnership on the ground. But when you put all of that together, what you really see is a clash, a collision between two completely different ways of looking at the world, of looking at value and risk. On one side, you have the Ugandan government's capitals approach, and it's this really beautiful idea that true value is so much more than just what's in your bank account. It says value is also about a healthy environment, strong communities, and educated, skilled people. And then you have the investment memo, and it's speaking a totally different language. It's a language of risk, but it's a very specific, very traditional kind of risk. Political problems, tech failures, supply chain nightmares. It's a worldview that is almost entirely focused on the money. And that's what this all comes down to, really. This whole journey through these documents leaves us with one massive lingering question. We are so laser-focused on these traditional financial risks, but what if we're measuring the wrong things? What if the biggest risks we face are the ones we can't easily put on a spreadsheet? The destruction of the natural, social, and human capital that we're only just now learning are, in fact, priceless.